Welcome to the Community Classroom. This is Dr. Tracey McCarthy, psychologist, attorney, and educator, and we are coming back with a discussion on the Black matriarchy. This was a question that came in from someone who made a comment on a video, and they wanted to talk about the Black matriarchy specifically as it relates to, quote, African American, unquote, families. This seems to be prompted by some discussion on YouTube, of course, YouTube, related to the Daniel Patrick Moynihan report of all reports. So we're going to dig into that and let's get started. Let me start by saying this. I am pretty certain that this line of questioning is coming from a dynamic that's been going on YouTube for a while now. And the dynamic is one where there are groups of people playing identity politics. And one of the dynamics that's going on is that there is identity appropriation going on. That's the first thing that's going on. And this identity appropriation that's going on involves men who are posing online as being what would traditionally be considered African American males. They are actually, for the most part, males from other cultures, but they are representing online as African American males. Now, this isn't the case with 100% of the situations, but what's going on is there are a number of men on YouTube who are feigning this African American male identity, and what it appears to be is this campaign to present, it's actually an attack on African American male, their manhood, and it's done by pretending to be them and presenting them as weak, groveling, and ineffectual. And part of what's going on is it is creating this sense of havoc between what would be identified as African American females and actual African American males by creating this fake gender war. And we are in a cultural climate of this identity politics, which gives fuel to this fire. It also, the other dynamic is that it creates a sense of desperation in some females who feel as though they are being attacked by actual African American males. And the end result is there seems to be a push for a number of young females to feel the need to swirl, that's the phrase nowadays here, to swirl either cross-culturally, meaning outside of the African American circle, that circumference, and swirl, if you will, with males from other Black cultures or males who would identify as white or other. Now, as for those individuals who are doing this, it seems to be a multifaceted dynamic in terms of motivation. One is there seems to be some pleasure out of duping people into believing that they actually are the African American males that they are presenting as, or they are the indigenous Black males that they are presenting as. So there's this duping and a little delight from the duping, and they're getting a little bit of supply, narcissistic types of supply from being online and getting all of this attention. And there's an element of gaslighting going on. And also the other part, which is probably a big part, is they're probably getting a check from YouTube. And so this gives them less motivation to cut out the foolishness. Okay, with that said, let's get into matriarchy. Matriarchy is just the flip side of patriarchy. Matri and patri come from the roots of matra, basically meaning mother or female, and patra, patri, coming from father or male, and the archy basically means to govern or to rule. And for the most part, what you're talking about when you're talking about a matriarchy or a patriarchy is a government or a social body controlled primarily by a female in terms of a matriarchy, or controlled by a male in terms of a patriarchy. You also have what's known as matrilineal and patrilineal. And basically that's just talking about inheritance or descent from the mother or maternal line, or inheritance or descent from the father or the male line. And when you have it that way, when you're talking about matrilineal or patrilineal descent, it's basically, we'll use indigenous cultures in the United States. They are often matrilineal. And what it basically means is that you have the relationship, the primary relationship is to the mother's clan, so to speak. And so in some instances, you might have a situation where if the couple gets married, they would move with the mother's clan and become a part of that clan, and then the children, any children, would be rooted in that clan. So in that way, there are never any what you would consider, I'm using the quotation marks here, illegitimate children or non-marital children. The children would always have a family, and they would always be legitimized through the family, which is distinct from the marital union. So the children belong to the clan versus simply the marital union of the mother and the father. Now, currently, we exist in a patriarchal society. Most societies around the world are patriarchal. This is pretty much a patriarchal existence that we're living in, which is basically means father or male run, male governed. We have a male president. We have cabinet members that are primarily male. The legislature, primarily male. Lots of male governors, male police officers, male military members. So there are a lot of males in positions of authority. Also in marital homes tend to be patriarchal by nature, by structure. And the idea of a matriarchy is, when it's inside of a patriarchal society, it's really usually not a pure matriarchy. What you're usually looking at is a situation where you're talking about just a single parent household situation where the mother has primary custody or full custody of the children. And of course, in that situation, you have no other choice but to have what's known as a matriarchy. But when there is a father in the home, it would be rare to have a situation where you would have something called a matriarchy. And let me give you the solution to the issue of the matriarchy. In many instances, the solution is simply to remain married, if that's at all possible. Don't have children until married. The other one is, if there is a divorce, then the father take the children with the father and seek custody for the children. And so that is the easiest way to maintain a patriarchal structure, even in the absence of a marital situation. Now, there are benefits to children residing with the father in a single parent situation, and I have a series of videos on fathering and fatherhood if anyone wants to check them out. You'll get a lot of information in there, whether you're a mother or a father or somebody who's just interested in the topic. And let me leave with this. I do not think that Daniel Patrick Moynihan is a great point of reference for anyone who is trying to look at research on the current state of affairs in terms of any family. Hopefully this information has been helpful. Remember, knowledge is power. Take care and see you soon.